All right, guys, we are back with another data drenched episode of Energy Bites here with my trusty co-host Bobby Nealon. How we doing today,
What's
Bobby?
going on?
Did you get any of your stuff freeze over out, out in the country last night?
Uh, no, it was super easy in and out. Like coming back on Thanksgiving too. Hobby
Yeah.
was insanely quiet, and they were. I don't think customs gave a shit. Like I could have brought back 10 gallons of tequila, and they wouldn't have said anything. But
Yeah, that's
I
awesome.
didn't.
No, that's it's as you can tell, I'm bundled up because the heat in our building was not on. Now that the weather's changed, so it's like 60 degrees
Oh,
in my
you're saying
office.
out in the country, not me coming back into the country.
Yeah, no, I
No,
realized
nothing
where there
froze
was.
out here. Uh, but that
Well,
was
and
Well, your
a thing too.
tequila
But
wouldn't freeze, so you would have been good then if
yeah,
that still
yeah,
happened.
totally good. But yeah, no issues out here. I mean, this is what I imagine Calgary feels like in
most of the time.
July. So
Yeah. So I'm looking at 8 inches of snow right now.
yeah, not quite the same here.
We're complaining that it's in the 30s here, or what is that, zero?
Yeah,
for
that's
you
right.
guys.
That's right. Yeah.
But
Oh, we're used to
anyway,
this, though. That's all right. It's all good.
yeah, I've been waiting. We don't really ever get fall. We just get kind of a cool summer, and then it goes right into winter normally. So that's kind of what we're in the middle of, I think. But anyway, we're here today with the guys from Energy Payables, Corey and Bruce. Want to give you guys a chance to tell us a little bit more about yourselves. Give you guys a second to intro yourselves.
Bruce Holman. I've been building software since I had a VIC-20 computer in the 1980s, and moved from that to mainframes to client server to web apps, and I just can't stop doing it. I've been in the oil patch probably since about 1998, and it's a love affair for me. I love the industry. I've I've been out riding shotgun with pumpers. I've been to some big facilities and sat with folks working there, and I just there's a ton of pride in the industry, and I love it.
Yeah, so from my side, let's see here. I graduated Oklahoma State back in '07 and worked at ConocoPhillips up in Bartlesville. And I was in their accounting division. And so I started off in joint interest accounting. And it was around that time when people were still kind of accepting web-based applications, kind of the .com invoice exchange. So obviously in the joint interest billing side, I was on the non-operated uh, division, and so we were looking at all the operators who were mailing their hard copy JIB invoices, and some companies were starting to use electronic means to distribute that and have their non-op partners code and enter all that data more electronically to reduce all that administrative burden. So implemented a tool at the time called JIBLink, which Bruce was the lead developer and co-founder for, and um, anyways, implemented that and actually joined the team with Red Dog Systems, who owned JIBLink in late 2008. So Bruce and I worked together for a few years before he started a few other adventures. And I was with Red Dog Systems up until 2019. We were acquired by Enverus, and I worked with Enverus, really kind of on the sales business development side for several years. And since then, left and have joined forces with Bruce again. So we're kind of running the band back together, if you will, which is pretty cool. Bruce really inspired me when I was, in my early 20s. So getting to work with him is a real treat with that. Um, and so, yeah, it's just kind of been a passion, I guess. Been in oil and gas, for the last 16 years or so, or I guess 18 years. And, really for the most part, it's all been around software, obviously within accounting, invoicing, trying to really help people solve these critical problems that have a lot of overhead cost and administrative burden to how they go about it, which obviously has downstream effect if there's anything put incorrectly into your accounting system. So being able to really help the industry with that, leaving a legacy behind with the JIBLink EnergyLink application for many years, and kind of moving on to the next adventure. So it's just another chapter in the book, but it's been a fun ride so far.
That's cool.
Yeah, I can't even imagine what the back office and everything looked like before even like some of the software we have now existed. Like I mean, you see how big those teams are and just the number of transactions. Like how was that even done? I don't like, or how'd you close the books? I don't even know.
Our CEO cut his teeth in the oil patch back office in the late 70s, early 80s, right? So it was all paper, and everyone's smoking in the office, and it was a different world.
Just nicotine fueled data entry.
Well, I just remember where it clicked for me was, we had a team of maybe 10 people, and this was ConocoPhillips, so I get they'll have a little bit of a larger team, but you knew when operators would send their invoices. Like I could expect, Shell or BP to send us their invoice on the 16th of every month, right? And I remember one time it just totally clicked for me that there has to be a better way to do things, and that's just kind of always stayed with me. So the person who would drop off the mail or the invoices around, we had this one operator send an invoice. It was like 3,500 wells on it, right? So there was no, hey, here's the envelope to unload. She would wheel the cart, this big cart, and it was just stacks of it. And she would just leave it at my office. And I'd walk out, and it was like the most depressing morning on the 15th of every month, because I'm like, oh yeah, it's that time again. And what am I going to do with all this? It was, it just stuck with me, right? So I was like, yeah, any way we can think of technology, leverage technology, see where companies were, like, but that was like the moment for me, like there has to be a better way. Like this is just difficult.
So
were they still wearing green visors at the time, or
I could just hear the accounting machines, the electronic calculators with the spool.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, I want to unpack that.
I can imagine people would be able to work the books back then, or
yeah.
Oh, it was out of control. I mean, they were 6 months to a year behind in processing, right, Corey?
Yeah. Most
wow.
Oh, it was insane.
Now they're only 3 months behind, so we've made huge strides in 20 years.
Yes.
No, let's unpack that a little bit though, because I think there's a lot of people on the tech IT operations side that don't even realize the chaos that's happening behind the scenes once a field invoice or a JIB or a royalty statement gets distributed, or they don't even know oh yeah, we have all these fractional interests in all these wells, and this is how they get distributed and stuff. Walk people through kind of how y'all came about kind of building it and stuff, and some of the trials and tribulations along the way. I can, again, like Bobby said, I can only imagine 20, 25 years ago what it must have been like to try and convince people that we're going to do this on a computer instead.
Yeah, I mean, on the JIB front, these huge invoices that Corey's talking about, then it's real, right? It was incredible, and so for us that was amazing because it was a blue ocean, right? I mean, GE had an old an old product out that was a couple of the big guys were using, but really there was nothing there. Everyone was hand bombing this into their systems. I mean, to actually get the source data and fan it out to the right partners, that wasn't terrible, but it really got interesting when folks were saying, okay, I want to dispute that, but I don't want to stop the train. Right? And then I want to take that and pay it later. And that's where I think when we came across that with our pilot group, It was just something we weren't expecting, and we had to react really quickly. And that was really the beginning of just getting into really into the weeds. But I mean, any problem is solvable, right? I don't know, Corey, so we started that, like we had a version 0.9 out in 2000 or so. And I'd say by 2002 or 2003, things were moving along pretty good, right? I mean, we were still young in the industry. I don't know if we had even looked into the States yet. We were just working in Canada at that point, but it was right around that time we started looking south.
So what does that look like from a tech stack perspective? Like, I assume the traditional way was you just had a horde of back office accountants to some effect that are just manually entering, getting the stuff and then manually keying it in, or how are they doing it? And then how did y'all kind of build around that?
Yeah, I mean, it was all, so working with IT departments so we're working with the operators who are actually sending these things out, okay? And so, when you're starting a product like this, you also need, you need the right pricing structure, and you need the right incentives for people to actually say, hey, I want to try this, right? And so we took that operator data at no charge to them. Okay, so that was, of course, they were going to be interested in that. Take their, cut their mailing costs and their shipping costs down drastically, and so it was all data exports right out of the gate. Okay, our first version was, taking in these data exports and just parsing it out to the right partners, where those partners could generate a PDF. That was it, right? There was no coding. There was no, you couldn't code it to your cost centers, to your AFEs, all of these back office accounts and so on. That all came a little later, right? But that was the start of it. So and everyone was open to it. There was very little resistance, kind of thing.
And it may have started, Bruce, in Calgary, maybe was a little more open to tech with that, because the other
it's
thing
true.
is this, well, JIBLink at the time wasn't the only way an operator was distributing invoices to their partners. They were mailing them still, right? So, hey, worst case, if this internet thing, this product called JIBLink doesn't work, we at least know that the invoices are still getting to people the way they always have. So I think people always kind of felt comfortable that there was this little safety net in that regard. But I think once it started in Calgary with it and a few people doing it, right? Like once a few could show that it was working, if it's working for Chevron up in Canada at the time, well, if someone like Chevron has the IT departments and kind of checks and balance, if it's going to work for them, it's going to work for a small and medium guy when it comes to the technical concern, if you will, right? But that was, and then I think what was really kind of helping it get down to the States, as you were saying, Bruce, is, as they say, there's a lot of there's a lot of dead skeletons at the Canadian border, whether people taking stuff up from the US to Canada to say it worked here, it's going to have to work there, or vice versa.
Yeah.
And our approach was letting the Canadian market pull it down into the States. So actually Chevron Canada called their US office and said, hey, you guys need to take a look at this, get on board. Chevron was a huge flagship for us to get, really kind of going into the lower 48 side. And that's how it kind of helped us get across the border a little safer. And then, of course, everything kind of went from there.
Can we take a real quick step back, and for people who are listening, and can someone explain what a JIB is? Just so people understand.
Yeah. So for a JIB, a joint interest billing statement or a joint interest billing invoice. So operators of the well, they have the obligation to take all of the, if I kind of give the full timeline, right? There's all the suppliers and vendors in the field that are performing work on, whatever the project may be for that site. At the end of the month, right? So there's one side with accounts payable that has to receive all those vendor invoices, process and pay those invoices for those suppliers. Then what's happening after that is the operator has to say, okay, here were all the charges tied to each site, whether those charges were capital charges to a particular AFE, or if they were lease operating expense line items, they would break those out. And so you would then, as the operator, have to turn around and invoice all your joint venture or your joint interest partners for what their respectable interest in the well was, right? So if I have 10%, I'll receive the invoice. It'll tell me what the gross amount was, but if my proportionate share is 10%, then I owe 10% of what that total amount is, right? So it all starts with the activity in the field, vendors, suppliers going to the operator. They got to pay those and then distribute and allocate all those total expenses to their joint interest partners who have an interest or stake into that well. So joint interests, and those invoices were distributed monthly. Very rarely would it happen more than once a month, but it was just the once a month occurrence for that invoice for the partner to receive and then ultimately turn around and pay the operator for their share.
Yeah. But again, when I just think about, say at GME, even as running JIB in an accounting system is a big deal. And some of these, like if your accounting system isn't very good, it can totally choke on itself and you might try to run it a handful of times. Because depending where you're at, you can have a ton of, owners in the well and then you multiply that times all the transactions and it can get pretty unruly pretty quickly.
It can, and just as much as the other side, like I know we've been talking about the joint interest billing side. At the same time, revenue departments, Bobby, are having to administer payments to all their owners, right? Whether it's a working interest owner, a landowner, royalty owner, whatever it is. And the reason I bring that up is because that's just even a whole nother ballgame of complication, right? Just with, are all the right people getting paid? Are we paying them this month? Do they fall in minimum suspense, right? Because their check amount's not enough. Did we miss any owners who should have been paid, right? Which is obviously a conversation for a whole nother podcast for people, right? But just the breadth of individuals that have to be paid, there's so many more owners than there are joint venture partners, right? So, but either way, it's still quite a feat for all the operators who have to get their JIB close, their revenue close done in a timely fashion each month, as you were saying. Crossing their fingers that their accounting system, their ERP system doesn't explode or delay things to get out on a timely basis, or else all the phone calls start coming in. So
yeah, or they can spend $50 million implementing SAP, and that should work.
That always solves the problem. It will always solve your problem.
And that's just the implementation services fee. That's not even the cost of the application.
You get the coffee cup with that?
Yeah, you get 3 coffee cups with that, guys.
But nobody ever got fired for procuring SAP, right? Or so I've been told.
It's true.
Was y'all's vision for this always to be kind of like a platform that everyone could kind of use, or was it initially like, hey, this solves our problem for this client, and then it kind of snowballed?
Yeah, the vision, the vision was always capture the industry. That's frankly where the real value is. Every new operator that we would bring on would be a further cost reduction for every partner, bringing down, all those transactions that Corey was talking about. And I would say the value of the product to the industry, it kind of increased on a curve. The more producers that who are actually putting their joint interest billing statements on there. Yeah, we joked we used to say we were shooting for a garbage monopoly, right? Because it's a tough kind of grind part of the back office, right? Doing that type of work, and it went great.
Well, and we were changing. Bruce, you mentioned from GE back in the 80s. This really the only there wasn't a JIB at the time. There was a revenue module, I think. Actually, no, there was JIB.
Yeah, there was JIB.
But it was a point-to-point solution.
Exactly.
Right. So I'd have to send it to Bobby, and then I'd have to send something else separately to Bruce, and so it was all this individual. But it was also built not realizing how many companies would actually exist in the marketplace. So what the .com kind of brought for Bruce and them was, hey, if we can just take a source file from the operator and they have 1,000 partners, well, now we can release data to 1,000 partners. And by the way, instead of transmitting that from a point-to-point thought where it's one at a time, you know, you can just load one file, hit release, and then the invoices go to the respective 1,000 partners out there, right? And they can all just log in, access their information, obviously to just what is theirs. They don't see anybody else's. So it kind of opened, the internet kind of opened up that thought process versus the point-to-point. So we kind of knew that going in, we were, you know, this was going to be built for the masses, and to ultimately get there, you know, it was going to take time, but it's more beneficial for people to say, I'm logging into JIBLink or EnergyLink, and I don't just see one of my operators' invoices there. I see all 20 of my operators' invoices there, so it makes it impactful from a, you know, full breadth perspective.
What was the kind of unpack the evolution of your tech stack, starting kind of from what y'all started with to what it was when y'all got bought out? I'd love to hear that.
We were doing so it was Oracle. It was
this
always
is before
Oracle.
Cloud, right? Like there's a cloud. There's a cloud, but it wasn't being sold as cloud. Right?
That's funny because the first place we hosted at, someone literally unplugged our database server, right? So there you go. It was. I mean, we. So when we started this thing, Oracle was, it was number one. It had the reputation for the capacity, that sort of thing, and so we leaned into that definitely. And we started with active server pages. And I mean, it was Oracle stored procedures, active server pages, and we had this kind of home baked kind of query management thing that would sit between our app and our database server. But it was, I mean, it was super simple, and I mean, I do think there's beauty in that, but it was, also. What was it? I mean, it was, it got the job done, right? It was rudimentary. I still remember our first login page. It just looked like, can I curse on here, or is that a...
Yeah, of course.
It was dog shit completely. And, but we evolved, right? So,
I was going to say, most web pages back then were pretty dog shit. So
that's right.
Like,
Flash,
it was like,
right?
Yes. Or the pixels loading.
Except for my MySpace. My MySpace was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's right, Bobby. I've always followed your MySpace. It's weird that you still keep it active, but that's great.
Me and Tom.
Him and Tom, just inseparable.
Yeah. No, I don't follow your MySpace. I was just kidding. We always our front end kind of dev tools were always in the Microsoft. So we actually went to, we moved to .NET. It was more VB.NET than C#, which is, like everything we're doing now is C#. But that was that. There were no huge refactors or, big, we're going to rip out this whole thing and putting something new. I definitely got challenged on occasion. Some of the young guys wanted SQL Server or, another backend or something like that. And it's like, tell me why that would be worth it, really. Like, just tell me, and then we'll think about it. And there was never really an answer. So,
yeah, the cost benefit.
We joke about
migrate that. But yeah, it's like what was going to be faster or better? It had to be step change better, right? For you to
exactly right, 100%.
Yeah, actually, so going back to you talked about active server pages. I'm assuming that's what ASP.NET is.
Yep, ASP and then to ASP.NET, and yeah, that's right. So it was just right at the start of .NET, essentially. Right.
We don't need to go too deep in it, but like, what is ASP or active server pages versus like what people think of now? Like, did that contain like the
Oh.
HTML and some JavaScript, or like what was the deal there?
Yeah, I mean, so it was all essentially inline. Um, uh, yeah, boy, that's going back. I'm trying to remember, but
Yeah.
I mean, holy shit, it was like it was all in inline processing. There were no I don't have a good answer for you, Bobby. It was,
No,
I
that's
mean,
fair.
yeah,
No, I can look at
it was ancient. I mean, it was just HTML and this ASP code. We weren't doing any JavaScript, nothing to start, and that all kind of came
Wow.
later. Oh yeah,
It's crazy because now everything's like super JavaScripty now. I mean, it sounds like you're doing a lot of like C# stuff now, but like everyone's using React or these different frameworks. But
yeah, I still have JavaScript allergies. I really do.
Yeah.
I can't stand that it's not strongly typed, and that just kind of scares me. And I've always
for sure. And then
did my best to avoid it.
TypeScript is better than nothing, but it's not. Well, cool. Well, and we can jump back into some of that in a little bit, but like I think we need to jump to today. I mean, like, so you guys are with Energy Payables. What is Energy Payables, and what are you trying to attack with that? And let's just kind of dive into that problem set.
Energy Payables was formed about 2.5 years ago, and the focus really is around the full accounts payable lifecycle. So is a single fully integrated platform with a vendor portal for vendors, suppliers to submit their invoices, and it's got kind of from the operator producer side, full invoice workflow, ticketing workflow, and a pricing agreement module within the platform. So that way we can just tie everything together. Where I think what we're really trying to do is bring better transparency, I think, to the vendors and the producers with where things are in the process. Are people being invoiced correctly, right? The right amounts? Are things getting coded correctly, right? With that downstream effect, I was saying, if it's all done incorrectly, it can impact the company further downstream. So really trying to focus on that accounts payable lifecycle. There's obviously been systems around similar to like EnergyLink, right? It's 25 years old, right? There's some systems out there that have been around just as long. Some people still do things manual today. But we think kind of bringing, a new modern tech stack for folks, right? Bringing kind of a line of customer service that I think goes back to Bruce and I with a Red Dog Systems culture of really kind of setting a gold standard in the market with focus, heavily set on the client and the customer. Really improving a lot of workflows within the actual application. So yeah, I think, trying to do something a little different, a little disruptive to what's going out there. And again, just really focused on the accounts payable lifecycle.
So would you say it is kind of comparable to like an open invoice, or where do you see it kind of in the market?
Yeah, I'd say very comparable to Open
Okay.
Invoice. I think with our customer base and
Just
folks we've
probably.
talked to who have used the Open Invoice application, have said, "Holy cow!" Like, not only are you guys doing everything we can do today, but you guys have obviously approached it a little differently. You guys had the framework and the platform that is we maybe start asking questions around how can AI be implemented in some of this stuff, or things you're able to probably evolve quicker within your product set. Um, so that's where I say it is. I think it's also, for a lot of those users, no one's, especially if they've been on Open Invoice for a long time. There hasn't really been a major disruptor to the Open Invoice product. And so it's not common for a lot of people to think that there would be something else or what is out there. But obviously, a lot of people are asking questions. They just always want to have their finger on the pulse, want to know what their options are in the market. Who else is building something new that can evolve with our needs, regardless of the division or department at a company. So, I mean, I'd say for the folks that have seen it, they've said, "Man, like you guys are much further along than we probably would have ever set, and you guys are, doing a lot of things that we would need in our business today." So, I'd say it's very comparable to that.
That's awesome. Yeah, that one absolutely needs to be disrupted. So I'm very excited
I mean, I think
hear
just
that.
in any market, there needs to be healthy competition, right? I mean, like,
Absolutely.
there's been no reason for the platform to evolve or grow or be better. So at the very least, I mean, you guys should be pushing them forward, but hopefully also clawing out some market share from that. And then, like, I'm trying to think with Open Invoice or something like that, or like yours, like, it doesn't rely necessarily as heavily on like the network effects. Exactly, right? I mean, it doesn't like, not like some other things
I mean,
may or may not.
I feel like my gripe with Open Invoice from someone who's been on the services side my entire career is that it's all operator focused. And if I, as the service provider, want to get any benefit out of it, I have to then pay Open Invoice a bunch of money to integrate with their system, even if I am using a completely different system for everything else. And it's not just an Open Invoice problem, it's an industry problem. Where it's like, okay, well, if you use our platform and you pay $500,000 a year for it, then you can. But the problem is, as a service provider, not all of my clients use Open Invoice. So you're gonna, like, how am I supposed to manage all of that? Like, I don't get the full benefit because the entire oil field isn't using the same platform. And so I'm very curious on y'all's end, what kind of, what y'all have done differently. What are some of the different value props y'all have?
John, I feel your pain, and I've had the experience as a service provider as well, and so we definitely we came at this approach and design considering the vendors as well. So, for example, I mean, with our AI engine, like if you are loading invoices with any sort of manual effort, be it like a PDF or, a photo of an invoice or something like that, you can upload all that today. And we read it and we present it to you and say, this is what we read, how are we doing, right? And then if there's something missed, we'll let the vendor fix it, and off they go. They send it. Okay. And we don't charge the vendor anything, right? It's I don't know. Philosophically, it almost feels a little disrespectful because really they're providing us inventory, that we're passing on and making a buck off of, and so we'd much rather just make their lives easy, and maybe spend a little time in our system, if nothing else, right? We will, like, I guess another pain point from a vendor perspective is getting rejections back for stupid stuff, and we've definitely, we do a lot of validation before we show that validation before somebody hits send. We're reading. So if there's a well reference or location reference or AFE number, whatever, account, anything on that, even if it's handwritten on later, we're picking all that up. We're saying, hey, we've seen that. We're pretty sure this is the AFE you want to code this drilling invoice to, right? And so we're providing a lot of services like that as well.
Yeah. Well, that's my thing. It's like, I don't, as someone who also builds software, you should pay for the software, but the structure of the software that you pay for shouldn't be an all or nothing. And then if it is all or nothing, it only gets you 60% of the way there because the whole industry doesn't use it, right? Like,
yeah, and it's, I don't know, like there's some base functionality that we just want there. I mean, we talk about, perhaps opening things up and providing some more analytics or something like that. But frankly, we could also just give a nice API endpoint to the vendor and let them crush their data the way they want to, right? Rather than us try and think we're the smartest person in the room. So that is our, I would say our philosophy. It's your data kind of thing. You've loaded it as a vendor or you've received it as a customer. We're not going to hold that hostage. And if you want to bolt on if vendors want to send work tickets directly from whatever product they're using then great.
Yeah,
You
well,
know,
that's
we
the whole
want
thing,
that.
right? Like that was always
Yeah.
my issue is that field tickets 99.9% of the time end up in a PDF. So who gives a shit what system you're using to generate said PDF? I'm not going to move off of that just to get a 60% solution for my field ticketing. Like that doesn't make sense. But if I can give you a PDF and a list of clients and all of their information and build like a mini ERP, but with the extraction, especially the way that you can pull stuff out of PDFs now, like there's no reason, like just like you said, set up an endpoint, push the data there, let it extract, and then map. It's a mapping exercise, right? Like it doesn't matter, and it's so much easier.
Exactly right. So yeah.
No, that's awesome.
And again, I'm on a much smaller scale as an independent consultant. I send out probably a handful of invoices a month, but it was eye-opening when I was like, oh, wait, I generated this awesome, beautiful invoice out of zero, and I emailed it to them, but now I have to go re-enter all of this by hand
In Open Invoice.
into Open Invoice.
Well, then it's like, oh yeah.
And then you look up other options and like, well, I'm way too small to pay that much for this solution.
We had John. We had one invoice at one of the companies I was working at, and the our customer wanted us to split it against all of their active wells. Okay, and so they had around 8,000 active wells, but that would change every month, right? And so, I mean, I actually started charging them time materials to load the invoice. So we just want to get rid of all that. So yeah.
Well, and again, removing the people from doing the manual repetitive stuff, which is what computers were built for and are really good at. And then just, giving the users the features that they actually need to use it. That was always my issue. It's like, oh, we've got an Open Invoice account, but now if you want digital signature or digital approvals, you have to have this whole other thing. And that doesn't work for a large majority of the industry. And so now we're back at square one, but all the operators are using Open Invoice because they're just giving it to them. And so it's, I'm glad y'all are taking a completely different approach to this, because it really is once you have that field ticket, which again is literally almost always in a PDF of some sort, you don't need anything else. It's again, it becomes a mapping exercise of just data.
Yeah, I think it's, just a couple of things on it, right? You have, so again, our philosophy there is to be open source and play well in the sandbox, right? Whether it's the vendor side, the operator side, right? We don't want to feel like we have to build everything, invent everything. If you want us to connect to systems you use that you're not going to get rid of tomorrow, that not necessarily replace, but it's got to connect to it, right? We're not trying to create another module to sell to you and it has to be that way or the highway. So we'll connect the way we need to. So I think just kind of being agnostic is definitely an approach that we're taking at Energy Payables. Bruce you guys kind of been highlighting on the pricing side. I mean, I think what's kind of fascinating about this is I think it's Open Invoice comparable. But I don't say that because I'd say I think we even have some differentiators today that platform probably doesn't have. But it's priced for everybody. So, you can go up market and the application is going to work, for a large producer if they want it. But I could also go to a small, kind of mom and pop operator that does 30 invoices a month and they can use it as well. Right. But it's priced for everybody to be able to use it that works, within them. There's no minimum entry point or, hey, we'd love to use that platform. We just never been able to justify the cost. That's not what we're trying to do with our pricing structure. So, and to that, right, it's one platform. What you get within the platform, the invoicing, the ticketing, the pricing agreement, it's all there. Whether you choose to use it or not, it's there, right? It's not like you're having to purchase and implement separate modules, right? That's the difference. So I think as the industry, starts adopting Energy Payables more, I'd say we'll see probably better use of the ticketing, better using of the pricing agreements. I think it's ultimately going to go to Bruce's vision around, what we're trying to clean up with that transparency between the vendors and the operators. And, you can just do so much more when everything's built from the ground up and in a holistic platform than just individual product sets. So it's pretty exciting, I think, for folks. And there's going to be a lot of opportunity for people who need something like this, who haven't been able to afford it or justify the cost, and others as well who might be looking for, cost reduction. And the time where oil is at the price it is, they're always, always evaluating what their vendor costs are, their G&A costs, right? These are things that always just kind of come around. So I think the timing's right for us to be very open in how we've priced that structure for the entire market.
Beautiful. So obviously you guys started this back in, looks like 2023. So I have to assume that the here real quick, advances in AI and all this stuff, like, was that what made this possible, or have you always had your eye on this and then it was like, all right, this is the right time to do this? And then how has, say, AI helped, whether it's using it, as a part of the platform, but also, as far as like the coding assistance and being able to build faster or do stuff like that, just curious how that's impacted.
Well, so, certainly reading the documents, we're not going to write that from scratch, right? That's been done, and it's great, and it's evolving. And we certainly have our own layer on top of that, so we're pulling out all the oil and gas components. From an AI perspective, so I guess two thoughts. One from the development side, and one from kind of customers or prospects talking to us about AI. What do you guys have, and that sort of thing. And just to follow up on that, I am like, would you let AI manage your bank account? Right? Maybe not yet. Right? And so there's a level of confidence, right? And we're always talking about confidence when we build this thing. And a lot of the work that we're doing right now, they are still they are non-AI algorithms, okay? Before we cut some of that stuff over, there's definitely going to be a bake-off. And until there are conditions that that we can't handle today, that they handle everything we do today, any AI engine handles whatever we do today plus more, then we're open to that 100%. But we're not going to jump in blind at the cost of at the risk of data quality, right? Because it's all about confidence. And like Corey was saying, we want to give these folks, the superintendent who's got 100 invoices to go through today, we want him to have super high confidence on what he's seeing, on what we're presenting to him in our analysis of it. And that's got to be a controlled entry into the AI side of things. Okay. Certainly for, any AI function that we do, we present it to whoever requested that task, and they get to check it over before they move it on. Okay. And it's a great time saver, like amazing. Don't get me wrong. And on the coding perspective, it's incredible. I would say even, and the quality has noticeably improved even in the last 8 months. I'll jump between Grok and OpenAI. I'll throw similar problems at both and see what kind of results I get back. We're part of the way we can operate this, with really good margins is we keep our team lean and mean. And I think our dev team we can do a hell of a lot more with a smaller dev team, no question.
Yeah.
Yep.
I got a couple questions around that. Completely agree with you. Like, people don't realize that giving a senior dev Claude code is going to, generally speaking nowadays, as long as they're using it like they should generate senior dev quality code. Like it's incredible. And so, yeah, you have one dev sitting there with 3 different chat panes working on 3 different projects. You get a very significant uptick in output and review and speed and all of these things. And so I'm very bullish, as like you are, on this we're going to be able to, we're already doing so much more with so much less. And so like one of my big kind of statements or predictions at least is that there's going to be, a sub 100 person billion-dollar oil and gas company. And it's going to be because they built it, leveraging AI and automation and stuff. But I want to go back to your point about, a couple things. One, when you're dealing with accounting, right, it has to be accurate. And so the way I always tell people, that are interested in AI or all of those things is it's like, these are tools, right? Like they are not, an LLM is not always going to be the best tool for the job. In fact, most of the time it's not the best tool for the job in most situations. And so, but where you can use it and like it sounds like you'll have kind of a human in the loop when you're doing the data extraction piece. It sounds like y'all might be using vision models or OCR, or a combination of both. But it's like that part of it, even though it's not perfect, still gets you 80% of the way there, right? Like it's almost instantly, right? Right, exactly, to the user. And so it's like, just because it's not 99.99% perfect all of the time, doesn't mean it's not saving you 85, 90% of your time doing these things. And so, I'm working on this project right now where I'm having to normalize a bunch of frac data from a bunch of different frac providers across a bunch of different wells. And it's like, now I can give the language model the headers of each of these tables and have it take its best guess at how I should normalize these things. And it gets me, it saves me a shit ton of work and a shit ton of time. And so I think that's another thing people, have to understand is like, it doesn't have to be perfect to be useful. But at the same time, on the other side of that coin is where it needs to be perfect, we have to take our time and make sure that it is actually perfect. And there a lot of times there's other tools that do better jobs that are already on the market for that explicit thing. And so it's good to hear that from you guys.
I think it's a balance,
yeah, absolutely.
Like you need the people in there as well, because someone still has to be accountable for that code, for that frac analysis. And to stand up for it, to explain it, to tweak it, and so it's. When I say that out loud, I suppose you could do the whole. these LLMs could possibly do the entire thing now, but I just I don't know. I think that we are, IT is a service industry, and I still believe humans, can provide the right and kind of necessary touch.
For sure.
For that. Yeah.
What kind of what are some of your favorite kind of tools for, extracting data from PDFs? If you're okay with sharing that, you don't have to if that's secret sauce for you guys.
Yeah. Well, we've. So I've worked on a couple of different.
I'll rephrase that so I'm not putting you on the spot. Do you lean more towards OCR-based tools, or are more of the vision plus OCR models starting to make their way?
Yeah, it's more vision plus OCR, and like I said, we've got our own layer on top of that. And so another project that I worked on before Energy Payables. We actually use named entity recognition and just through freeform contracts at that. And with the right training, it was pretty damn good. And we got really good success with that. And those were around like land ownership contracts, that sort of thing within the oil patch, and like just to take a document and get enough information to categorize it. Right, as is this a tax invoice? Is this a contract? Is this a letter to a landowner? Right, that sort of thing. It was pretty cool.
Break NER down for the people who might not know.
Yeah, so it's named entity recognition, which is a not neural, but what's the word I'm looking for? I'm terrible with all the acronyms right out of the gate here, boys. but I mean, it's almost like
NLP
souped up
or
pattern recognition.
Yeah,
I would say, yeah.
Yeah, it basically looks at named entities across documents and builds relationships between them. There's all kinds of different stuff you can do. It's really, really powerful, especially on that's the thing. A lot of the language model stuff, we do RAG for enterprise. And so you have all this, it's a giant data problem, right? And people think, oh, you just give it to the LLM and it does its magic. And it's like, no. Yeah. There's all this stuff happening before the LLM is the last step, and it's doing the least amount of work, in all honesty, right? And so we're doing a bunch of NER stuff. There's even one that I read this post the other day, and I thought it was kind of interesting, but it was like inverted NER. So instead of taking the most common, you take the most unique. And then that's another way of classifying things, which I thought was kind of an interesting way of looking at things. Yeah, I was like, I'd never even thought about that, but that makes a ton of sense. But no, that's really cool. I'm going to flip over to Bobby because I know he's got some other questions, I'm sure.
Yeah, no, I mean, just, and I guess building on top of this, because I mean, obviously you've had to evolve, as software and everything evolved. I mean, you've done this probably full cloud, I'm assuming, at this point. I mean, I guess what is the preferred cloud? I mean, it's doing all the Microsoft, I'm assuming Azure likely, or?
Yeah, we're using Azure. I mean, people really get religious about this sort of thing, and I'm not in any camp. I mean, we're using pretty much the Microsoft stack, so Azure just made sense.
Makes sense, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. The other thing there is the industry just loves, the IT staff in the industry loves Azure, and so that it ultimately makes it a much easier decision out of the gate than having to convince people that GCP is the way that they should go.
Yeah, absolutely. If you tell them it's on Heroku, they'll get nervous, right? It's like the SAP comment earlier. I mean, Heroku's great, right? But and you can do this a million different ways. So we just went with, let's keep the debate low. And I mean, the team has worked on it in the past. So Yeah, I mean,
it all has everything you need. They all generally do.
And more.
But I guess with that, on the AI side, are you all utilizing the DataFoundry or whatever the different stuff is within there for that side of it, or are you baking stuff into the actual application or containerizing? Just
no. Right now it's exclusively Foundry, but so here's my pet peeve. They've started charging by token, right? So it's like, well, what's a token? And so a token is essentially a byte of response data. So now it's like we're back to dial-up internet charges and how much data did you use in your last session, and it just really feels like a visionless billing model that just hampers creativity. And back when I was doing mainframe stuff in the early 90s, we had to be careful how many bytes we used, right, when we were storing information, and I thought those days were done, and now I'm seeing tokens. So so when I see stuff like that, Bobby, now I'm thinking, maybe we should be just taking a model, rolling our own, and staying away from something like that, right?
Yeah,
I wish I didn't have to make that decision.
No, yeah.
I think the token model, it makes sense for the big providers, right? That's what they want, is they want
absolutely.
you. Well, and then they also, GPT now has the routing layer. So it's like, oh yeah, I'm going to route you to the best answer, which probably also has the most tokens, just for your pleasure, even though you didn't necessarily ask for that. But the flip side of that is I completely agree with you. As an enterprise, they want predictable, forecastable pricing. They don't want, oh, well, next month, it's all going to depend. That doesn't work for the enterprise users. And so I'm also very curious to see how this shakes out in the long term. On a consumer perspective, me using this for one little thing, okay, fine, I'll pay my 50 cents for my query, I don't care. But at an enterprise level, and when you're building tools on top of those tools for enterprise, it's different. So I'm curious to see if everyone just hard forks and ends up with their own models that they're hosted. Are we going back to self-hosting everything? Or are we going to find a different methodology here? Or are we going to roll out ads in the middle of our responses so that the costs are covered? That's absolutely coming.
Yeah, that's funny you say that. Yeah, I agree. But I mean, yeah, like I'm thinking about the hard fork. And guess what? It's more controllable.
You don't have to apply for a quota. That's another beautiful benefit of that. Like I don't think the average person realizes like how hamstrung every single cloud provider currently is with GPUs and hardware.
I know. Exactly.
Whether that's
and it's a huge risk
training.
to you. I mean, you're providing a service that people expect to work in a certain way, and like if something out of your control happens, that they're like, sorry, you're out of tokens, or you're over your limit, and your clients are screwed for the next 10 days until you reset.
Or we give them a user experience that lets them, bang away at this LLM, and their usage goes through the roof, and we're charging them a flat fee, and now we're hurting ourselves, right?
Underwater.
So you got to manage the op costs, and this per use thing is it's an irritant. I mean, the tools are still beautiful, no question, right? And now they're talking about tuned instead of JSON responses, right? So it's basically CSV files all over again, which is another, I hate CSVs. Corey, you remember CSVs?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, remember them.
They're still there.
Exactly.
They're rocking.
They're not strongly typed, are they, Bruce?
I saw what you did there. Yeah. No, they are not.
But I can read it. But at least Parquet has types. But I digress.
Yeah.
There was a joke article that came out a couple weeks ago, and it was like SCV beats tune, and it's literally just separated comma values.
Yeah.
Yep. That was. Well, and
I'm more a fan of like tilde delimited files,
but it brings up a good point though, because there are people doing really interesting things around token efficiency, I guess is the way to say that, right? Like, I saw something. I want to say they took a picture, like a PNG, of the tokens of the prompt of the query, whatever, compressed it, and then fed it to the model that way, and saved some ungodly amount of tokens just by doing that. And so I'm very curious. It's interesting from that perspective, because it's like, okay, now people are trying to come up with all these workarounds around the constraints of the business models that they're forcing upon us.
Necessity
breeds
invention.
It's not terribly different than what 5-8 years ago, like with cloud spend, and like people, there were services literally that would manage spot instances for you, and like you didn't have to know, but it would bounce around and it would find spot instances that were available to run your workloads, and it was saving a lot of money. But you had someone, there had to be a layer for someone to manage that, because otherwise you were paying on demand, or you had to reserve instances if you actually knew how much compute you were going to use. But I guess all that's going to come back around. Anything that's consumption based, someone's going to find a way to help, hopefully try to mitigate it as much as possible.
Yeah, game it.
Yeah, I mean, there's even layers on top of, like, there's this company, I won't mention them now until I get them on the podcast, but they're like a middle layer between, say, Snowflake and like the BI layer, and basically it identifies if it can run that query locally with DuckDB, and most of them are small enough queries to be able to be executed by DuckDB, against the data. And I don't know if they have some kind of cache or how they're doing it. And then it'll only send it to Snowflake to run the query, when it's, above a certain size, or where, you actually need Snowflake's horsepower. But, that stuff's all coming.
Mm-hmm. And all that stuff makes me nervous as an architect, because like the more links in the chain, the more things that can break, right? So
points of failure, yeah.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
I mean, I guess the last thing, and before we maybe get into this speed round though, is like, because we were talking about it earlier and I didn't really get to it. You talked about, let's say, an API endpoint in, say, to Energy Payables, but like, what do you guys have now, or what are you envisioning as far as like sharing data out of the platform? Because I can speak for the incumbent, that their API is really difficult to navigate, and there's entire companies built off of being able to navigate that API and integrate it with other stuff. So I mean, have you given much thought to that side of it too?
Yeah, absolutely. So a good buddy of mine is that I worked with at Muddy Boots. He implemented GraphQL, which is beautiful, right? And I definitely think that is the nicest way. I mean, it's early days for us. Our hair's on fire, just within the current app. So we're not doing that yet. So right now it's kind of standard, just kind of standard REST APIs. But we're doing things like, go pull your work tickets every day so you can do your daily accruals, right? I mean, that API is just there, and you can do that as just part of the offering. Okay. We have a lot of we have reporting within the product, and we just have exports from that as well within the app. So, if someone doesn't want to work with their IT department and they just need the data, that's all there as well. But right now we just have a suite of REST APIs that we're building on.
Nice. Yeah, because I know obviously some people, and it'll probably depend on, if you land some of these customers that, really are big enough and are going to make it worth your while to do it. But whether it's Snowflake data shares or stuff like that, a pretty big deal too. Because getting a SQL database of it, basically there's a company that exists for that reason to be able to create, integrations and create a SQL database of your open invoice, data, because it is unruly unless you've got a lot of experience with it to get the data out reliably.
Mm-hmm. And we will, and it's an interesting discussion, right? Because they're essentially getting all of this transaction data into their infrastructure already. So they have a source within their house today as well, right? It'll be, we're open to the conversation. I'm looking forward to it, right? But
Sweet.
GraphQL,
certain things you have to focus on, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, I think GraphQL is pretty great as well. And I guess I don't want to go too far down the rabbit hole because REST, basically you have this endpoint, you have to pull it. You'd have to pull 5 different endpoints and then you'd have to join the stuff together. But with the GraphQL, you can kind of write your API request that pulls from multiple endpoints and consolidates it into one response, correct?
It's a beauty. Yeah. And it's a friendly query language, right? It's, that's definitely the preferred destination for us. Beautiful.
John, you guys want to jump into a real quick speed round, like 1 or 2 questions per guy?
Yeah, this blew by, guys. We love it always does when we're nerding out over this stuff. This one is for Bruce. What is either your favorite or most kind of interesting, exciting tool that you've come across in the last 6 months that you're using, whether it's a Python library, a web service, anything like that?
Oh, I'm terrible at thinking of my feet, guys.
It's okay.
Yeah.
I'll pivot to where are you located? You're in Canada, yeah?
Calgary.
Okay. Where do I need to hit up when I come to Calgary next with I'm going to bring my wife next time I go up there because it's so awesome. It's a good.
Have you been to Caesars? Have you been to Caesars Steakhouse? Corey knows Caesars. Caesars is old school, wood paneled.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
White shirts, dark pants. All the serving staff is top shelf, and it's literally the best steak you'll find ever.
I think the last time we had someone from Calgary on, I think we may have got a similar answer. So
I think you're right.
Caesars, yeah,
I remember him describing it.
Everyone loves Caesars.
Beautiful.
Free ad campaign for Caesars.
Yeah. Sticking with the
they don't need it.
Sticking with the food theme, Corey, where's the favorite place to take clients to lunch in the Houston area?
Oh man.
There's not many options to choose from, I know, but
no, it's bad.
Well, I guess for people outside of Houston, right? It always depends on where the client is located, right? Because
Houston is an hour away from Houston.
Starters. Yeah. Man, like just even kind of an OG spot that I'd love to take people to is the El Tiempo on Washington. Always, even for lunch, had kind of a good vibe. Um, Man, I'm trying to think. A little centrally located, but that usually was my go-to because I knew I could do it great for lunch or for dinner.
All right,
Um,
what are you ordering at that El Tiempo?
so I like spicy food, so I gotta test it. But I always love to get the salsa off the menu.
Oh,
I call it the molcajete, but really molcajete is just actually I think a bowl that you put the salsa in, but they
Yeah, they
call it
grind
that.
it
So you
up in
kind
there.
of yeah. So I start with that. Then always you gotta get a pound of the fillet, and then I always tell them to put some grilled shrimp on the side because we said they have to have their little hot tub and the butter sauce there. Um, and
listen, the butter hot tub is so underrated. It's like all the places here do it, but then you go outside and you're like, no one has it. And it's like, guys, this is so simple. It immediately makes the food taste better. Just give me a tub of butter.
yeah, you got to walk by my table and understand it's a judge-free zone
Yes.
on how everything is set up there. So yeah, that's usually going to be the go-to in the setup.
Yeah, fajitas from El Tiempo are always a good option.
Yeah, Bruce, ketchup flavored chips, yay or nay?
He's in.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
seeing that make its way down to the States a little bit more. I mean, I remember going up there 15 years ago, Bruce, and you guys were talking about ketchup chips. I'm like, what the hell are these things? Right?
Oh,
Now,
buddy.
like Trader Joe's has ketchup chips. Lay's is doing their thing. Takes us a while to catch up.
Yeah, I got a
No
care
pun intended.
package from buddy up in Calgary a couple years ago, and had those as along with a few other things. But that was
Hmm.
it's like, all right, this is different, but I'm gonna go for it. They're pretty good.
My wife's favorite.
They're so tasty. They're unexpectedly good.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Well,
Love it.
well, cool guys. This has been awesome. We blew through our time today. Where can people reach out and get in touch with you guys if they want to follow up? What's the best way for them to do that?
Corey.
Yeah. So Corey at EnergyPayables.com. Got a LinkedIn page as well there for Corey Scott. And then, of course, the Energy Payables website just has some information there. And just if people are interested to reach out through that, everything gets directed towards me. So best point of contact, those are probably the best avenues. No one's probably trying to hit me up on TikTok or anything else. So I'll leave it to those areas.
Hey, John got some good run on TikTok a month or two ago.
Yeah, one of our clips hit like 600K
There you go.
on
Wow.
TikTok. Neither of us. I don't have a TikTok, but the company page
Well, I
does.
does.
So yeah, I was like, this is awesome. I get all of the benefit and none of the repercussions of having to read the ridiculous trolls in the comments. So troll me all you want because I'm not reading
Thank
it.
all of you. Thank you to all the idiots who left their credentials in their GitHub repos.
Yes,
And,
keep posting your API keys to your public GitHub accounts.
Oh, my gosh.
That's awesome.
I found some ridiculous ones. Like
You're kidding.
Oracle, no, like heavy SaaS tokens and enterprise platform tokens that are just there. But the tech community loves to talk about how you just like the oil field about how they're the smartest ones in the room, and so any kind of video that we put out there that has anything mildly controversial, they like to chime in and talk about it or give their take. Right? They were like, "This isn't a new trick. Everyone's been doing this for 20 years." That doesn't mean it's still not happening, and people still don't know about it. Anyway, you want to wrap us up,
Well, we
Bobby?
appreciate you guys having both of us on, man.
Yeah,
This is,
Yeah, no, I'm
Yeah,
glad we could
absolutely.
carve the
Awesome.
time out. And I mean, I wish you guys the best. And hopefully people are reaching out after this. And we want you guys to go disrupt the industry. So it's
Yes. Keep fighting the good fight. Own
Thanks,
your
boys.
data.
Loving it.
good. Awesome.
Appreciate
Thanks,
it,
guys. You have a great day.